if you can silence your cell phone and electronic devices during the meeting. Tonight's board meeting is being live streamed on our UUSD YouTube channel, and the link is accessible on our website. Trustees, please have your microphones turned on and speak into the microphone. If an audience member wishes to address the board, please fill out a public comment form and present it to Debbie prior to the beginning of public comment. Public comment is taken for items not on the agenda. Each speaker is given 3 minutes, and a total of 15 minutes is allocated for the public to address items not on the agenda. Public comment for items on the agenda is taken at the time of each item. Each speaker is given 3 minutes, and a total of 15 minutes per agenda topic is allocated for the public to address items on the agenda. If we can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we are on C3, report out from closed session.
Should I take out that one on the consent item first, or should I wait till you get there?
We're doing approval of the agenda after this item.
After that?
Yep.
So then I'll say it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okie dokie. So regarding item B3, it was moved by Nelson, seconded by Bailey, to approve a full and final settlement regarding Mendocino County Superior Court case number 22CV01124. Settlement includes a CCP 1542 waiver without an admission of fault. It was roll call vote, 6-0. Regarding item B4, it was moved by Nelson, seconded by Johnson, to accept a claim, and McDonald versus Ukiah Unified School District, claim number 260008, and that was 6-0 roll call vote. We had 2 classified unpaid leave requests, and on a classified leave, it was moved by Fernandez, seconded by Keplinger, to approve the classified leave of absence request as asked for, and that was approved 6-0 roll call vote. And on the other classified employee unpaid leave request, it was moved by Fernandez, seconded by Bailey, to approve the classified unpaid leave request 6-0 roll call vote. And that is it.
All right, thank you. Item C4, tonight's agenda. Do you have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Well, I need to take off on the consent agenda, number 5, to be voted on separately.
Okay.
Thank you.
I move to approve the agenda with that change.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, we are on item C5, approval of the consent agenda item with the removal of item G5.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item 5.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And in regards to item G5,
I move to approve item G5, the contract with Peaceful Warrior.
I'll second it.
all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstention?
Thank you, B. Moving on to item C6, acceptance of donations. It looks like we have 3 from the Savings Bank, Costco, and Ron and Francine Salem for a total of $3,777.
I'll move to approve that with gratitude.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, thank you. And item C7, Student Advisor Report. We'd like to welcome Gwen Johnson for her first meeting.
Thank you. My name is Gwen, and I'm the student advisor to the board. And we're almost through our fourth week of school for the 2025-2026 school year. And classes are starting to pick up, and students are acclimating to their new schedules. And in the first week of school, leadership, which has a new ASB director, Gabriel Ott, held games such as cornhole and spikeball in the quad and played music. And students were happy to interact with each other again back from the summer. And that was on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of the first week. And while students had an adjustment period with the new schedule, we're beginning to adapt to the new change with the built-in time U-Time has given us. And on the second week of school, on Thursday, August 28th, we had our clubs rush, and 11 clubs signed up and interacted with incoming freshmen and upperclassmen, and people are excited to start meeting at lunches for clubs again. And on September 4th, in the third week of school, we had our first clubs day of the year out of 4, and 22 clubs signed up. And they had a lot of fun participating and fundraising by making cupcakes and selling them, and cookies, and Native American tacos, and tostadas, and pizza. And last week was the first week of school that students could move between U-Times to receive help for their classes from teachers and be tutored or retake tests, as the first 2 weeks of school were used to present a common curriculum to students during that time. And as we have settled into a new routine, the school year is picking up, and we're beginning to prepare for homecoming. Last week, we put out our first poll on Minga for the homecoming theme, and on Monday, we put out the final narrowed down poll with options such as seasons, music genres, and cities. And the homecoming theme was decided, and it's music genres. And the first lunch meeting for classes was held this Tuesday to narrow down within that theme. And I think the seniors picked rock and the juniors picked country music. And on August 29th, freshman class elections were held, but there was an exact tie of votes for the top 2 contenders. And so there was a runoff election that was held on September 5th. And the varsity football team has won 2 out of the 3 games that they've had this season, with on Saturday, September 6th, a freshman tailgate being held to welcome the 9th graders to campus. And the varsity volleyball team is doing well as well. They won a trophy at a tournament in Rancho Cotati last weekend. And back to school night took place on Saturday, on September 4th at 6 p.m., and parents could follow around their student schedule. As we approach Hispanic Heritage Month, we look forward to a Hispanic Heritage Spirit Week from September 15th through the 19th. To begin the month with days such as Bring Your Best Hat, Jersey Day, Flag Day, Cowboys and Cowgirls Day, and Hispanic Idols Day. Further, on September 28th, students will receive bracelets and stickers related to Hispanic heritage, and on October 10th, Grupo Norteña will play in the Tri, and there will be a table with facts about people of Latino descent for a raffle. Additionally, there will be scheduled posts on Minga with information about Hispanic figures every day of the month. Thank you. That's the report for Ukiah High School. Any questions?
Go ahead, B.
You know,
mic's
for some
off,
reason,
Dave.
I did not write down the date of homecoming. Do you
Well,
have the date?
the Friday of homecoming is October 17th.
Thank you. Okay, so that's the football game, right?
The football games are on Saturdays this year.
Oh,
I think the 17th will be a Friday, though.
Except on homecoming. Yep.
oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay,
B, we'll get all that information out to you all on
Thank you.
homecoming week.
thank you. Okay, and you did a very thorough job.
Thanks.
Nice to welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Gwen, and welcome. And
Thank you.
if you have homework or anything that you need to do, you're more than welcome to sneak out of here, but we appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
And moving to item C8, CSEA. Sarah, welcome back.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. Can you hear me? This is like, all right. That better? Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Cuban. Election season is upon us, and CSEA has endorsed Troy Johnson and David Miller for the CalPERS Board, and Lisa Rantala, our president, has been phone banking 3 times a week to get people on board with that. We have a new regional representative, Stephen Duncan, who is our chapter. He's in our chapter. He did the job steward training, and from there he ended up going to the annual CSEA conference and decided that he wanted to be our regional rep. So we have that. And then we have extra trainings going on right now. The sessions right now that are being focused on are maintenance and operations, paraeducator development, and new job steward training classes. And then at the, let me think for a second. At the annual conference, our chapter received a Circle of Stars award for increasing our Victory Club members over the last year, which shows more engagement in our chapter of our union.
I want to share with the board that Sarah just got certified as a driver instructor. So we're really proud of her work. That is a very rigorous process. And we think she's going to be a great driver instructor. So anyway, congratulations. It's a very rigorous and difficult process. So we're super proud of you.
Thank you, Deb, and thank you for the opportunity. Any questions?
Thank you, and welcome back.
Thank you.
One question. What's the Victory Club?
The Victory Club is monies that goes in to have legislators go send people to the Capitol to fight for our rights. So during COVID, one of the biggest things was that they were going to lay everybody off, not knowing what COVID held. And we sent legislators to fight for our rights to not be laid off and fighting for our legal rights. Different stuff like that. That's the best example I have right now. Anything else?
Thank you. UTA, Becky, welcome back.
Thank you. Well, yeah, it's great to be back. And I am excited to get started with this school year. I feel like this year is marked by a lot of mystery. We're kind of going into this year with a lot of unknowns. And I guess in some ways it means there's a lot of potential. So that's an exciting part about the year. But I think it's been, we're off to a pretty good start. I have to say we've had we're still absorbing a lot of changes with assignments and placement. We were a little surprised, I think, by our student enrollment. We had some hopes for some numbers in places that didn't pan out just yet. But that's the way, enrollment goes. It's always a little bit of an unknown until we get here. So I really am humbled by the incredible work our teachers are doing to launch the school year and to work with their sites and their teams to get everything up and running. Williams visits happened really early this year, and we are excited to say that we got through them pretty well, I think. Didn't hear anything major complaints. It was exciting. We had an open house last night. Great to see Bee, as always. She's always a visitor to Nokomis that we appreciate seeing. And I thought it was a great idea to try to put them together. I know that presents some challenges, but having it early in the year and letting parents get a foot in the door and a chance to meet their teachers and see some other kids in the class and just that camaraderie. I know everyone had a great time with the music and the PE and all the activities going on outside of the classrooms and in the classrooms last night at our open house, and I'm sure this was similar across the district. As far as the daytime going, I think getting things finally, we're at a place, small groups are up and running, we have testing that's getting through, we have state testing, local testing, and everything in between. So I feel like it's been an incredibly busy time of year to get going. And I'm just looking forward to the achievements that we see. I'm super humbled by the fact that teachers are ready to give their all and to see the success that we've been working towards. So that's our report.
Thank you. Moving on to C9, Leadership Team Report. Dana, welcome.
There we go. Yeah. All right. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Cuban. So my presentation tonight is around our 6 priority areas. These are the 6. I'm going to pick 2 of them and do a little dive into that and what it looks like at Ukiah. The 2, oops, wait, go back, Dana. The 2 that I'm going to focus on is the high quality instruction and support and elevating teacher expertise. So when I look at high quality instruction and support, I really look at it into these 3 bucket areas for us. I look at it through academics, engagement, and social emotional learning. And inside of each one of those, there's 3 tiers of support. So if you're looking at academics, you're looking to make at least 1 year's worth of growth or more. In order to do this, we drive our instruction practices around what the data states. And this dictates our next steps and also drives our own professional development. At Ukiah, we have been looking at writing. It is one of our lowest sub-areas in ELA, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later. So what we've been looking at is using exemplars and rubrics. We work in collaborative groups. We are looking at rigor and depth of knowledge. So instead of doing more, we're trying to focus on less. Looking at promise standards, not all of the standards, and making sure that we're looking at them more deeply so kids understand things at a deeper level. And then we're providing high quality professional development to teachers. I'm gonna pop over to SEL, and I'm gonna say that we really foster school-wide values and policies that promote positive behaviors. We have routines, clear expectations, and consistency. And so what we do there is we look at, I definitely need glasses if I can't see that. I'm like, oh my goodness. When we look at our social emotional learning, we first look at our tiered fidelity inventory, and that really is looking at all of the pieces of each one of our tiers and making sure that we have all of the systems and pieces in place in order to make sure we're supporting every student at every level. And then we have classroom management and supports. And I always want to be proactive instead of reactive when it comes to behaviors. So our meetings around students who are having a difficult time are done weekly for us in our Tier 2, Tier 3 meetings. And then what really keeps kids engaged and their behavior at more of a minimum is when we have high quality instruction. So the engagement piece I also see as 3 tiers, because what we're doing is we're really looking at it. It has to be seen in classrooms, it has to be seen around the campus and through the activities with students and their families. We have to help students become responsible for their own learning, and they need to know that they're valued. And so when we look at that, we have this engagement thing that we do with our kids, and it's like an engagement continuum. And at the far left, at the far right, it's like, are we driving? Are we driving our education, or are we way over here being passive, or are we actively not listening, not doing what we're supposed to be doing? So I always ask the kids, are we driving? Are we driving today? Are we gonna learn something new today? And so that's one of the things that we do. We really want our kids to be critical thinkers and problem solvers. And so we try to make sure that our instruction supports those 2 things. And then we want our campus to have a feeling of belonging, and we do a lot of family engagement activities. So at the beginning of every school year, we really talk about, we put together SMART goals. And so these are some of the things that as a staff we've put together, and these are the things that we believe in. We have a we believe in, what our collective commitments are going to be, and then our SMART goals, and we have 4 of those. And so these are just some of the things. I won't read them all, but we believe in children's capacity to learn and grow with a rigorous curriculum, providing all children with a safe, fair, equitable, and caring environment, and bring moments of joy into every child's daily experience at school. So those are some of the things that we have on our sheet, and we go over this all of the time. They actually made fun of me at a retirement party and made SMART goals around what I had. I'm like, that wasn't funny. Our collective commitment. So these are the things that we will say we will do. Every teacher will do inside of the classroom. We say that we are going to have professional learning communities. We are going to have targets and I can statements so kids know what they're learning, why they're learning it, and how they know if they've learned it. We're going to look at data, and we're going to make data drive our instruction. And then we're going to set clear expectations for those students so they know exactly what they're doing, and then keep them on that path so they have an understanding of what the curriculum is about. Here's our 4 SMART goals. So one of them is that, and we have them, I put these in buckets as well. One of them is that all grade level and grade span PLT teachers will meet and discuss progress towards essential standards. So that's how we work together. And then the next one is how they use our system when we're looking at behaviors. So 100% of staff members will use Tier 1 PBIS program strategies so we can make sure that we have a decrease in behaviors. The next one is growth. We started looking at not proficiency, although we do look at proficiency. What we really started looking at is a growth model. And so we are saying that 100% of our kids at Ukiah will make growth from the fall to the spring. And so inside of that, it allows us to really look at each student instead of a group of kids who are not performing well. And then that gives us the opportunity to say, what did that one student not get? What did that other student not get? So those scores become names of students, and then we want all of those students to grow. And then the last one is we really wanted to make sure we were working on our common formative assessments. And the last one talks about that, which is when they're in PLCs, that they're giving assessments that's the same so they can decipher what's going on within that skill that they are assessing themselves on, assessing students on. This is our data, and so just real quick, so English, we met or exceeded 32.35%. This last year we went to 33.48, and we had a positive change of 1.13%. In math, we went from 30.96%, and it says all subgroups gained. That means that every subgroup that we had at Ukiah made gains last year. Our special ed, our EL, every subgroup made gains. And then we went to 38.12, which is a positive increase of 7.16%. So if you look down below, it says ELA. Our highest performing sub area is listening, which is demonstrating effective communication skills. And so one of our first best instruction pieces when we're looking at what we're doing in the district is collaborative conversations. So we're allowing our kids and teaching them the skills to be able to communicate effectively with each other and about things. Mathematics, our highest performing sub area, is again, communicating, reasoning, demonstrating ability to support mathematical conclusions. In ELA, our lowest performing sub-area was writing. And so that's producing clear and purposeful writing. And in math, it was actually concepts and procedures, which is applying mathematical concepts and procedures to problems. So this is the second one. This is the elevating the teacher expertise. And I looked at this as buckets as well. And I looked at it through teacher professional development, professional learning communities, and special training in math and literacy. And so when you look at teacher professional development, we're looking at all the things that we do. And so we have them both district-wide and site, and then we have math for elementary. So as a district, we've been focusing on math, my passion, and so I've been super excited about this. And then we've been using actually teachers who have been part of a grant for the California Math Collaborative as experts, and they have put on some of the professional development that we did at the beginning of the school year. So was very proud of that. They did a wonderful job. We also are writing and ELD task force, so we noticed that our lowest sub scores were in writing. And so what we did is we put together a group of teachers who wanted to work on that so we could look at that vertical alignment of that and assess how we're doing that and make sure that that what we're doing is working for students? And if it's not, how do we change it to make sure that it is? So we've got a writing group that does that, and then our ELD task force. We have the same thing for our kids who are second language learners. We put together a task force because we see the huge gap in that. We have a higher gap in reading than in math in that, though, as well. And then we look at our PLC process, and we're looking at that with Solution Tree as a group with our leadership network. Professional learning communities, that's our PLCs. My PLCs, all of the grade levels have action plans. So anything I ever want to know, all of the things that they have, each grade level has an action plan, and I can just pop in and see it, and it's like a running document for the year. So it has everything in it, so we can make sure that we are on top of what we're doing and we stay active. And when we say we're going to do something, the plan has, this is when we're going to do it, this is what we're doing, this is when we're going to get it completed, and by who. We talk about collective responsibility. They're all our kids, so we share. We focus on learning, and we're data-driven and evidence-based. And we do this every Wednesday. No matter if it's a staff meeting or not, we make sure that the last half hour of every meeting, the staff meeting, is teachers collaborating together. You can't work on a cycle, you can't work on CFAs if you're not looking at that every week. So I give them the opportunity to do that every week. Specialized training in math and literacy. So there are so many teachers, I couldn't tell you how many, who have taken letters, which is teaching reading. And it's been phenomenal for our school, I think phenomenal for our district. It's an amazing program, and all of my teachers praise it highly. For math, I do a lot of things. It's one of the things that I did as a teacher and continue to look at, and that's lesson study. It's in the math framework, is one of the best types of professional development you can do for teachers in mathematics. I've had the opportunity to actually speak with the president of the California Math Project on some of the work that we've been doing at Ukiah. We've presented down at Asilomar. He's now taking it to Atlanta, some of the things that we're doing. So I'm really impressed with my teachers, really impressed with my students, and so that's some of the reasons why we've made big gains in math, and we just continue to do so. And then we also partner with the California Education Partners, California Math Project, CANME, and the Rural Math Grant. I'm in everything I could possibly think of. So I know the district has an epic journey. When I look at ours, I think of what our culture and climate looks like at our school, our commitment and dedication, and our growth and collaboration. And I really want to make sure that our students, we're positioning our students as capable and central participants in teacher learning. So as teachers learn, they're learning by looking at students, their work, how they engage, all of those pieces. And this is my favorite quote. Superintendent Cuban knows this. It's been sitting outside my office door for 13 years. And so I believe this wholeheartedly. You can say and do a lot of things for children, but how you make them feel makes a difference in their education. And so I'm just going to show you a few pictures from last year of some of the things that we've done. And along the side are some of the things, not all of the things that I do. So we have Ruby Bridges Walk to School. We do that even in the rain. The kids love it with umbrellas. We do it every year. We have like autism awareness. You can just read them. They're down the side. There's so many of them. But it is wonderful. We get to invite the community in twice a year. We have police officers, hairdressers, firefighters, just so many people who are coming on campus to work with our students so they know that they are coming from a community of good people and that they too can serve their community in one way or another. And so I let them see that through the people and the work that we do at school. Let's see. There we go. We had Ballet Folklorico. That's Rocky on a crane during, Gabe Sherman wouldn't let me drop a helicopter in my field, but that would have been a cool thing for college and career. This is our Christmas. We had grandparents back for the first time this last year. I was like, 40, 50 at most. I had over 200 grandparents. They flew in from the East Coast. I've never seen a happier, more engaged group of people. We had like a little brunch for them. Our kindergartners sang to them, and then they got to go into the classrooms with their grandchildren for about an hour and just kind of do things with them. So that was a good time. We do Veterans Day. We have, I put my girl in because she's in Chico and I miss her, but that is Field Day. And we do blankets. So last time was Jeannie Yitterness. Kiwanis donated blankets, the fabric for blankets so we could make them. So each class makes blankets during Christmas time, and we give them to CHP, we give them to the police department for students who get detained at some point or another. So they do that, they come in, and we give them to the hospital too. So they come in and they tell the children thank you. So one of the things that I want them to realize is I want them to be grateful for things, but I want them to know the feeling of what it feels like to have gratitude laid back onto them. So that's one of the things that we do. Our Harvest Festival, I have entrepreneurs. I've decided that I'm going to have my own pumpkin fest, I guess, so every kid can participate. And so one of the things I've asked them to do is if you want to make anything, and I've got 1 million bracelets, so if you want to stop by on October 24th, my Harvest Festival is that day. And any student who has anything that they grow, they make, anything that they can do on their own, bake, they can sell it. And when they sell it, they keep the profits of that. So I want them to know that they can do those types of things as well. We have a parent participation, a parent appreciation. We have moms and muffins and TK. We have an egg drop. That's another, I love big tractors. So this is college and career, ballet folklorico, and those are our commissioners. So I don't do president, vice president with students. What I actually do is I take nominated, it used to be 6th graders, now it's 5th graders, and those are the ones like when we have community members come onto campus, we actually have them walk them around and become leaders to introduce them, to do things like that. They also go to some of the homes and read to the elderly. They do caroling for canned goods. They raise about 1,000 canned goods every year. They carol around the neighborhood. It's a good time, even in the rain last year. And parents, Native American Day. Last year, we brought the Ukiah High School baseball team to do the Read Across America. I don't know who was more excited, the littles or the bigs. It was such a good time. And then we have a fairy tale ball for kids in TK through 3rd grade. There's my entrepreneurs up there on the top. Oh, I have my commissioners twice. That might be it. I think that's it. So if you have any questions, go right on ahead.
I don't have a question, but I always love seeing what you're doing at your school, but this is really nice here. You just sort of like laid out everything. And the academics and the fun. And I appreciate how you really look at data and how data drives what your staff does, and they seem so intent and purposeful about that. I really appreciate that. But I also really appreciate how you create so many opportunities for fun and lightness, and that you seem to always really work hard on bringing the community to your school. I've noticed that over the years, and it seems like it just grows every year. So it's fun to see all the things you did last year. Lots of great ideas. So thank you for doing such a great job with your school.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I just have one thing. If you ever walk the school with Dana, the kids there feel so loved by you. It's so evident. And so just thank you for making those kiddos feel so loved. They come up and hug her all the time, and just it's very obvious how much you love your students. So thank you for helping them feel loved.
Thank you. 28 years at Ukiah this year, I believe, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
I just say one thing?
Oh, B.
Yeah, this was so fun. I love all these pictures. It's so nice to see. And thank all of you for working so hard to do this. And thank you for showing it to us. We've never seen so many pictures like that. Well, it was neat. It's a whole year like that, and thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Just as a caveat to that, my counselor puts together a video every week for the students. It's called a character counts video. So all of the students who receive terrific tickets for our 6 values gets to go in it. But all of these pictures that you see are part of that, so they get to see themselves as well. So whatever happened that week goes up for them. And the little people think they're on TV, so the parents call and be like, are they on TV? I'm like, no, not really, but they are. We're watching them, but it is on YouTube, but it's restricted. But they get to see what they do every month too. And it is just amazing to watch them. Like when somebody gets something, they're like, Dana, Deb. They're just so happy. It's very cute. So yeah, it's been a wonderful time. Thank you, B. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Item C10. Do we have any public comment? Okay. Item D1, prime contract change for order 001.
Good evening. If you don't mind, I'll speak to D1 and D2 at the same time. So these are the proposed contract changes to the last 2 TK projects we did. So Frank Zeke and Calpella, both are substantially complete, and we're waiting for certification with the state. All up, Calpella, we're seeing 609,000 back, and Frank Zeke, 1,055,000 for a grand total of 1,665,000. So these are largely monies that are either from avoided risk issues, things that we thought we might find and we didn't find, and some value engineering on the projects. And these, of course, will go back into the facilities fund for deferred maintenance, some of our many needs, and other items that we identify for priority targeting from the facilities master plan.
It's all good news.
If there's no questions? Okay. Take care.
Thank you, Gabe. Looking for D1, do we have a motion to approve?
Where did you get a
Yep.
motion?
Motion to approve prime contract change order for D1.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, and moving to item D2. For the same thing with Frank Zeke.
I'll move to approve D2.
I'll second that as well.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions or nays? All right, thank you. D3, update regarding former Ritter Valley Elementary School.
If I could piggyback on D1 and D2 briefly, I meant to total up the 6 TK projects. I didn't get a chance, but it was well over probably $3 million that we saved underneath the guaranteed maximum price for all 6 of those projects. There's always contingency built in, as Gabe mentioned, so in case things do go sideways, we have money there to take care of it. But the fact that we have great contractors, a great construction manager, and countless hours, blood, sweat, and tears from Gabe himself to make sure these projects go well and come in under budget is why we get this money back. So it's a huge thing for us.
Can I say one thing too? I forgot. I just want to say, those rooms look beautiful. They're so wonderful. It's like I'm sure everybody wants to move in there. You know, there's so much nice room, but not only saving money, guys, but getting what we get is pretty amazing. Thank you for all your hard work. Yeah.
Great. With that, good evening. I'll apologize in advance. I'm here for the next 5 items, so I'm sorry. And B, I don't have any pictures for you, so lots of graphs, but no pictures. Okay, so first up is Ritter Valley Elementary, just a really brief update for you. So we've, as you know, we've been partnering with our attorneys with Orbach, Huff, and Henderson, and we've also partnered with CBRE, and finally, it's on? Is it too far away? Is that better? Oh, okay. I'm not used to being that close. Yeah, so in partnership with those two folks, we did get our 2 requests for qualifications and proposals issued. There are 2 proposals, if you may recall. There is one for a straight sale of the property and one for a lease to own of the property. Interested groups can bid either way, and then the board will make a decision at some point based on what we receive. So, giving you a quick update on the timeline. August 29th, we got the RFQPs issued. September 26th is the deadline for any interested parties to submit any questions they have after reviewing the packages we sent out. October 17th is our deadline to post responses to those submitted questions. November 21st is the deadline for responses due to the request for qualifications. So it's really a 2-step process. It's the RFQ, request for qualifications, and then RFQ/P, the request for proposals. So by November 21st, any interested parties have to have given us their qualifications. We will spend the next 2-3 weeks reviewing those, and we will then notify groups that are our finalists that we consider what we're going to allow to submit proposals for us at that point. I don't imagine we're going to screen anybody out through this process, but if somebody comes in who clearly doesn't have the financing, for example, to be able to successfully bid on this project, we would possibly not have them advance. But not having gone through this process before, I can't imagine why we wouldn't bring everybody forward, but as soon as I say that, somebody will give us a reason not to, so we'll see. So December 12th, we'll notify the finalists. January 30th of 26, all the responses are due for the request for proposals. We'll reach back out and then ask for kind of the best and final proposals. Instead of a really painful negotiations process, typically you go back and say, okay, you are a serious candidate for this, give us your best and final offer. And then the board will make decisions based on that. And then our goal is to make final recommendations to the board in March. Now this timeline is subject to change. It's a pretty aggressive timeline, but we are going to try to stick to it if we can. So, and the one interesting piece to this, and the new thing for us, and it's kind of almost an uncomfortable thing for us because it's not typically how we operate, there is a mandatory quiet period. I'm going to go ahead and read it to you briefly. From the date of issuance until the RFQP process is completed, any interested firm and/or their agent or representative shall not communicate with any district administrator, staff member, member of the board, member of the Measure A Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, member of any other board or board-appointed committee, or district consultant, excluding the broker, regarding this RFQ/P. All communications must be transmitted to the point of contact named in the RFQP. Those are our attorneys, just to clarify. Firms violating this communications prohibition may be disqualified at the district's discretion. And I wanted to make sure everybody understood here, including the public, this is not the board's direction that we do this. This was not administration's direction to you that we do this. This is just how the process works. This is again, fairly prescribed process through the state. This is a standard part of the process. So that's why that's there. So with that, any questions?
No, thank you. Okay, and moving on to D4, I'd like to open up the public hearing to receive consideration on developer fee justification.
Great, and I put together a quick proposal or a presentation for you, excuse me, I'm saying proposal too much tonight, regarding developer fees. Just again, remember the state's view of developer fees. Our developer fees are really part of the state's 3-pronged funding plan for schools. We used the analogy before of the 3-legged stool, local general obligation bonds, state aid, which always requires a match from the district, and developer fees. And those 3 things, clearly 2 of those 3, and even the third, put a tremendous burden on the communities themselves to fund their schools. Other states don't do it this way, but California does. So there is not a lot of facility money available to pay for facilities from the state, and when there are, we have to come up with at least usually half or more of the money up front. Usually we have to pay for all the project completely, then they reimburse us partially later, sometimes 10 or 15 years later. It's, again, not a great process. So, you know, developer fees are regularly collected by districts all over the state. This is standard operating procedure in most places in California. It hadn't been here for a while, but to every place else, it's pretty normal and pretty common. And the state does throw in one more little hurdle for this. If we were ever to need state financial hardship assistance for school construction, we wouldn't even be eligible if we're not collecting developer fees. And that was one of the things the board seriously considered when we brought back developer fees a couple years ago, was in case we ever needed this hardship money, we had to be collecting developer fees. That's why the board, one of the reasons why the board chose to go forward. So. Okay, so kind of a brief history. Back in February of 2014, the board directed administration to cease the collection of developer fees. There had been a couple setbacks legally, and the board at that time made the decision to not continue collecting developer fees. During the 2021-22 year, the board directed administration to commission a new developer fee justification study. On August 11th of 2022, there was a public hearing and board discussion about the first draft of the new study. On August 29th and September 26th of 2022, we held public informational meetings. We had 4 attendees from the public in total at the 2 meetings. We did a lot of outreach, tried to heavily advertise these meetings and get public input, and we did not get a lot. On November 10th, 2022, there was board discussion regarding a revised draft of the study. And I did put a little note on here. Again, all of these meetings were legally noticed. There were legal notices in the Ukiah Daily Journal. These were advertised on our website. If anybody ever asks to be notified about developer fees, we're required to notify them in writing. We've emailed all these folks ahead of all these meetings as required. Moving forward, December 15th of 2022, there was another public hearing and board consideration of resolutions adopting the study and authorizing the collection of developer fees, and both of those resolutions were approved. We then came back 2 months later, February 9th of 23, held another public hearing and had made a couple minor tweaks to the study and adopted another resolution superseding the prior resolution. And then once the resolution is adopted by the board, the fees can't be collected, or the new rate can't be collected for 60 days. So on April 11th, 2023, the district began collecting developer fees. Oops. So every December, we present to you an annual accounting developer fees, but we thought for the purposes of tonight and for full transparency, we'd tell you what we've collected since April 23rd until about 3 o'clock today, and I don't think any came in after that. In terms of permits issued by the city, there have been 19 permits that we've processed, and we've collected $252,763. That's primarily residential, as you can see. And for permits issued by the county, there have been 53 permits, and we've collected $230,000 and change, again, mostly residential. So why are we here tonight? So every 2 years, the State Allocation Board updates the maximum fees that districts can collect statewide. They look at inflation, cost of construction, things like that. Most recently, they updated their fees on January 24th of 2024. So we could have come back to you right then even with a new study and said, hey, let's adopt these higher rates. We didn't. We've waited for a variety of reasons. So tonight is a second public hearing to consider our latest justification study for developer fees. Legally, we're only required to have one. Again, we're trying to be fully transparent, so we had a public hearing last month at our regular board meeting. We're having one again tonight. The next item on the agenda is for the board to consider adopting resolution number 3, 2025-26, which would adopt the new study and update the per square foot fees the district collects. And I did not put the fees in here, but the fees are, so currently for residential, it's $4.79 per square foot. The new rate would be $5.17 per square foot. That's a 38-cent increase, or just under 8%. For commercial projects, the current rate is 78 cents per square foot. It would go to 84 cents per square foot, so a 6 cent per square foot increase, or about 7.7%. And again, if the board adopts the resolution, that's the next item on the agenda, the new fees will take effect in 60 days, which would be Wednesday, November 12th. So with that, any questions on the presentation? No? Okay, I believe we have a couple of public comments then.
Any more than just 2? Okay, I have 2 public comments, and if we could start with Teresa.
Good evening, trustees and community members. I'm here tonight to urge you to reject the proposal to raise the developer fees. We all know Ukiah is in a housing crisis. Homes are not being built, families cannot find a place to live, and teachers, the very people we rely on to educate our children, can't afford to live in this community. Raising fees on new housing will only make this problem worse. This isn't just theory. Last year at a district advisory committee meeting, this very issue was discussed. We are struggling to bring teachers into our community because there is simply no place for them to live. That reality should guide every decision we make about our housing policy. And let's not forget, local families are already paying significant taxes to support our schools through Measure A, a $75 million school bond. Adding higher developer fees on top of that is double charging the very people we are trying to house. Meanwhile, the state of California's budget for K-12 education is over $105 billion this year. That is an enormous amount of money and one of the largest budgets in the entire nation. Yet Sacramento continues to spend recklessly, pouring billions of dollars into bureaucracy and waste, while small school districts like Ukiah are told to make up the difference by raising local fees. That is backwards. Education funding is the state's constitutional responsibility, and Sacramento needs to be held accountable for providing adequate and equitable funding. Every dollar added in fees makes it harder to build homes. A 3,000 square foot house, the school district fee alone would now total more than $15,000. Add in fire impact fees, city permits, and utility hookups, and the cost of simply pulling a permit can easily exceed $30,000 to $60,000. At that level, many projects don't just get built. And when fewer homes are built, our housing shortage grows, rents rise, and teachers and staff are pushed out. We talk about building strong schools, but at the same time, we are pricing out the very people who make our schools strong. The state has a responsibility and the budget to fund public education. Local families and builders should not be forced to carry that weight through ever-increasing fees that make housing impossible. I urge you to stand with the community, to stand with working families, and to stand with our teachers. Do not approve this increase. Instead, lobby Sacramento to do their job, to fully fund our schools and stop forcing small communities like Ukiah to choose between housing and education.
Thank you, Teresa. And next we have Colin.
Good evening,
Colin
Chair.
Morrow.
You read my handwriting. I'm impressed. Good evening, Chair. Good evening, trustees. My name is Colin Morrow. I'm here in my capacity as an attorney for Stephen Gomes and Ross Liberty and the Alliance for Responsible Fees. I submitted some written correspondence, and I think that Ms. McMerlin made some very good points about the need for affordable housing in this area. I also want to talk a little bit about the legalities of these fees. These aren't something that can be imposed as a matter of right by the district. They're something that districts only entitled to impose if it can actually show that new development is creating new pupils, and that those new pupils are creating a need for new facilities. And that just hasn't been the case here. The reason this district stopped collecting fees back in 2014 is that in the 2000s, it attempted to collect fees on 3 separate occasions, ended up in litigation on 3 separate occasions, and was forced by the courts not to collect the fees. As soon as this district adopted fees in 2022 and 2023, and I was back in front of you at that time, the district again found itself in litigation over these fees, and that litigation continues to drag on. It's still pending. Because the simple reality is that even though there's been new housing built and there's been new development in the school district's geographic boundaries, that hasn't created a need for new facilities. It hasn't created new pupils. As just came up before this agenda item came up, there's a whole facility in Redwood Valley that's being sold because there isn't the need for it. So
I appreciate the desire to fund public education. I like that the school year's back underway. It sounds like the school teams, teams at the schools are doing well. I appreciate the commitment of the trustees to serve. I know it's not a fun job, but the reality is that you're attempting to do something that there isn't the legal justification for doing. And while public education funding's a great thing, this isn't a viable way to do it, and it's just going to create more litigation, and that litigation is significant expense for the district. And for those reasons, I would ask the district take a step back and actually look at whether they're doing this correctly and delve into that study. That study never explains how these developer fees are going to fund improvements that are actually needed for new students. And with that, I think I'll wrap at that. Thank you.
And we'll move to item D5.
Okay, so for item D5, it is whether the board wants to adopt tonight the new justification study and then raise the fees in 60 days by the 38th, what was it? Sorry, I don't have those numbers handy. Raising the fees for residential by 38 cents per square foot and for commercial by 6 cents per square foot.
Thank you. And can I just clarify, I have item D4 on here for you as well?
Yeah, I apologize for that, Chair. Yes, I'll just restate what I said.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Comments, questions, concerns from the board? Tyler?
I really appreciate the comments from the public. I know it takes a lot of time to come to meetings in the middle of the night when it's nice to be resting. And I just wanted to appreciate the really horrible way California has chosen to fund the upkeep of their schools. It's a process that we're stuck with, and it's pretty awful. But it is the only mechanism we have right now until the legislature changes how they decide to fund schools. And for that reason, I think it's very important that we support the new developer fee study. I will be voting for it.
John?
Yeah, I was just doing some math on my own, and basically for a 1,500 square foot house, the total developer fees would come out to $7,700. Even with this increase, it's only a $500 increase over what the fees are now, 1.5% of the $500,000 cost of the home. So I think it's a minor impact to be able to support the development of good facilities for our students. Also, it's below the cost, significantly below the cost that it costs the school district to reconstruct school facilities. This isn't even building new. That comes in at $7.42 a square foot. And I agree with your comments about it's not the ideal, but the development of new residential and commercial units does help build up our community, but then that also impacts our schools by having new pupils that need to have school, so I'm also in favor.
Okay. In regards to item D5, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 03, the 2025-26 developer fee justification.
Can I ask a question? I'll second that. Can I ask a question? I'm just not, I'm not sure, is it okay for the chair to make a motion? Is that, as far as moving forward, is that okay?
Are you asking about parliamentary? I'm going to have to do a quick look up
I am,
on it.
yes. I think it is. I just want to make sure that,
I'll take it back. Okay.
I will make a motion to approve the developer fee study.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
D6.
All right.
Approval of the unadulterated.
Yeah,
And
2024.
just to clarify, and this is quick research, it is allowed legally for the chair to make a motion. So, but that was my quick research.
Jim and I would never lie, right? Yeah. Oh,
It's the Board of Equalization.
oh, okay. Great. Okay, 2024, 2025 unaudited actuals financial report, because we haven't talked about budget in at least a few days, right? So, as always, huge thank you to Christy Bryant and the entire fiscal team. There's a long summer working on all of this. It's not been without its challenges. You may have noticed that when the packet was first published last Friday, there were some documents that weren't finalized yet. Part of that, to be honest, is the county treasurer. Their timelines are still not getting us the information we need in a timely manner. Every year we're hopeful it's going to get a little bit better. Every year it stays about the same, unfortunately. So hopefully next year it'll be better, but it's a really tight timeline. So the budget cycle, our usual slide here, it's just, this is the last time we're really going to talk about 24-25. It is fully dark green now. The year is complete and over. We'll come back to you here in a few months and start talking more about 25-26. Again, there's lots of layers to our budget reporting, and that the entire packet that you have in the board agenda tonight is 174 or 176 pages of really fun reading. On top of that, you have a 15 or 16 page executive summary, which isn't hopefully quite as painful. And then tonight you get 15 or 16 slides that are hopefully a little bit less painful than that. So with that, we'll dive in. So a recap of the year. We finished the year in better financial shape than we projected throughout the budget cycle. We typically do that. I think if I'm going to come to you with changes, I'd rather come to you with positive changes than negative changes. During 24-25, we finished spending all of the one-time pandemic relief funds. So after tonight, we'll probably not talk about those again, but we'll talk about them some more in a minute. We did spend all of our 2024-2025 supplemental and concentration grant funds. Again, that's a priority for us each year, because if we don't spend all of it, the balance that carries over carries additional requirements on top of the money we already have for the following year. And once again, we were able to shift some pretty significant fencing costs from Measure A to the supplemental and concentration grant under, there's a lot of initiatives covered by the supplemental and concentration grant and our strategic plan, and one of those is safety. So that was a good use of those funds. Okay, so overall, you'll see throughout the cycle, going back to the first time we looked at this budget for real was back in June of 2024, which feels like years ago. We thought we were going to deficit spend by about $300,000. We came to you in December saying, well, it's going to be worse than that. We're going to deficit spend by about 1.6. Kind of carried that message through into March with second interim. We came to you in June with the estimated actuals and said, okay, it's going to be better. We're going to be about $700,000 upside down, worst case. And we knew we were going to get better from there once we closed everything out. We just weren't sure how much better. Typically, we pick up $500,000 to $1 million from that point to now. We picked up considerably more this year, almost $3 million, which is huge for us going forward. There were a lot of reasons for that. Our revenues were up over $500,000. Our salaries and benefits were down about $127,000 from what we projected. Our other expenses were down $589,000. Our transfers in, this is going to be a little hard to explain, so I'll probably do it better later, but the money we keep in Fund 17 for our 10% reserve is a 10% of our expenses. Well, because our expenses have started going down, because we have maxed out, we finished spending all of those pandemic relief funds, our expenses are actually going down a little bit. So 10% is actually a little bit less money now. So extra money was in Fund 17 we could bring back into the general fund. One of the big changes was our contributions to routine restricted maintenance and to special ed were down by about $1.3 million from what we thought they'd be in June. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. So overall, our ending balance was up $3.1 million. So again, I'd like it to be a little closer in a perfect world, but I always want it to go this direction at the end. And so it is good news for us. So what changed from May to August? Again, we kind of just hit some of those highlights. Some of the big things were the contributions, as I mentioned. Again, routine restricted maintenance, one of the funds that we use to pay to keep our facilities in good working order, is based on 3% of our total expenses. Well, our total expenses were down, so the 3% cost was less. The second big thing was special ed. For the first time in several years, there was not a dramatic growth in the contribution required from the general fund for special ed. There were a lot of reasons for that. The special ed revenues were $436,000 higher than we'd projected. Some other costs were down about $200,000. Salaries and benefits were down $200,000, and other expenses were down $300,000. When we compare that was comparing it to what we budgeted as recently as June. When we compare it to last year, you can see that that contribution went from 10.85 million to 10.9 million. It barely increased. Whereas prior years it had gone from 6.5 to 7.5, and from 7.5 to 8.5, and then from 8.5 to 10.8 last year. Those contribution requirements for special ed had grown dramatically. Now, a big part of that each year was the raises we had given, and in 2024-25 there was not a salary increase or compensation increase given to our employees. So that was a piece of that as well, along with the higher revenues and other things that we mentioned. So that was one piece of good news. If we could get SPED, if the required contribution to SPED would stay around 10 or 11 million going forward, it's still ridiculous, but we could live with it. We're projecting a pretty big growth again in the future years, which we'll talk about more in December. So our reserves for economic uncertainties on our undesignated balances. So the top line there just kind of shows you what I was talking about how much our total expenditures, our total transfers out, and what's called other uses. That total amount is what our 3% for routine restricted maintenance and our 3% reserve for economic uncertainties are based upon, and our 10% board mandated reserve are based upon. So those hit the high water mark in 23-24 of a little over 117 million, and we're back down to just under 113 million this year. But if this chart went back a couple more years to like 18-19, it was like 60 million. Our budget is almost double what it was not that long ago. And as we've talked about that throughout the years, there have been a lot of reasons for that. The state is better funding education, a lot of one-time funds, a good variety of reasons, but definitely rapid growth. So our total reserves, we finished the year at just over 15 million, or 13.37%. So we're 3.37% above the 10% board mandated reserve. That's all sitting in our general fund. The full 10% is sitting in Fund 17. So that's definitely good news for us. One of the new reserves we've created the last couple of years are what are called committed funds. In 2023-24, the board took formal action to commit some unspent SCG funds from 2019-20 and 2020-21 for future textbook adoptions. And then last year, we received a return of net equity from our workers' comp consortium, and the board took formal action to put that money aside, that $1.25 million, to put that aside for future legal and insurance costs beyond the normal course of business. We've seen some crazy spikes and some crazy one-time charges in both of those things, and so we wanted to have some money put aside just in case. Now, committed funds are a little bit unique in our budget, and they're still pretty new for us. We cannot spend these funds without coming back to you and getting a resolution approved first. So they are very much protected. That's why they're called committed. The board has committed those, and we can't come and change that at a whim. We have to come to you and get a resolution if we want to spend those. Okay, are you going to go forward? Okay. In addition to that, the board has done a good job over the last several years really taking advantage and leveraging that one-time money we got to build up some other reserves through board-directed categoricals. We'd put money aside for deferred maintenance, for Chromebook replacements, for staff technology replacement. We have money for facilities. We have money for textbook adoption that we took that money. We did a shift there to make sure we had enough money in the general fund and have enough money for textbook adoptions in the future. So that was when we took that carryover SCG money and put it for textbooks, we took this textbook money and put it back in the general fund at the same time. And again, that was all board action we talked about back in 22-23. So here's another, at the end of 24-25, another $2.3 million in some specific categoricals for specific purposes. So on top of our 13.33% reserve, we have those committed funds, we have these funds, and we have a few other what we're calling complementary categoricals, things like we still have a little bit of SCG money from 1920 and 2021 left over. We will hopefully finish spending that this year. We have a lot of lottery money that's purposed for instructional materials to spend. Katie has enough money for several adoptions, but she has several adoptions on the horizon. So, and adoptions are not cheap. So, but we're well positioned for those. And we've also been able to reinvest in ourselves each year through the safety equipment and vehicle replacement program. And we have a nice $400,000 balance sitting there at this point, which is good news for us as well. Okay, the pandemic relief funds, maybe for the last time. We had 600+ we had to spend by September 30th of this year. That was the last chunk. We got that done, got all our reporting sent off to the state. We have now spent all $34,144,623 we received in pandemic relief funds. The old saying, more money, more problems, there was a little truth to that, but I really think we did a really amazing job collectively of really leveraging these funds. We did a great job of taking care of our students, taking care of our staff, putting money aside for a rainy day, reinvesting in our facilities. All those things, I think we did a really good job, and the board should feel really good about the work you guys did to make sure we did that. So thank you. So speaking of our facilities, talking about our bond dollars, and we'll talk more about our bond, where we are with all of our bond funds in the next couple months, but we were able to use $1.1 million of SCG funding this year to help offset some of those costs. So far, since we passed Measure A and started working on projects that were basically Measure A funded, we've spent a little over $80 million. But we've only had to spend $65 million of that out of Measure A. We still have about $11 million left. It's actually more after those two change orders you processed tonight. We've been able to use some old facilities money. We've been able to use some of the pandemic relief funds, the ESSER II and ESSER III dollars. And then we've been able to use SCG to contribute combined, what is that, $16 million towards our bond projects. That's a huge way of stretching our bond dollars. If we didn't have those funds, we would have already exhausted Measure A. So again, I think good job to the board and to administration for identifying those ways to do that and really stretch our bond dollars. Okay, we're going to talk more about this one next month. We've had some other one-time funds from the state through the Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant and the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant. Those are both fun to say. We've spent a little bit of those funds in 23-24 and in 24-25, but we still have $2.9 million remaining of the Arts, Music, and Instruction Materials. Again, it's discretionary. We've joked about that one. It's very poorly named because you can spend it on anything, and you're encouraged to cover operating costs with this money. We have $2.9 million left, and we have until June 30th of 2026 to spend it. So we'll come to you next month with a revised plan to make sure we get those funds spent in time. The Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant is a little more restricted in how we can spend it. We have about a little over $6 million left going into 25-26. We have until June 30th of 2028 to spend that, but we're also getting more money for that. We picked up another $400,000 and change this year, and we think we'll get that again the next 2 years. So that'll definitely help us do some more with that money as well. Okay, lots of numbers, lots of random thoughts, but at this point we're working on our audit. In fact, our auditors are here on Monday, so it's a quick turnaround for the fiscal team. We have a lot going on next week. We have our facilities master plan folks on site as well, along with the normal chaos that week 5 of the school year brings. So it's going to be an interesting week. For 25-26, we now know our beginning balances, and we're beginning to think about first interim in more detail. Enrollment and staffing analysis and projections for 26-27 are going to be critical. Enrollment has been a little bit unpredictable the last few years, and so we're going to try to get a better handle on that. Part of the facilities master plan is they're going to be doing their own projections, so it'll be interesting to see how their projections line up with ours as we go forward. We've got some new cost areas we're going to have to make sure we have a good handle on, but you'll hear more about that in December. So we'll definitely be talking to you next month. And in December, I'm not sure about November yet, but we'll try to give you a month break maybe. So, okay, with that, any questions?
All right.
Do you need a motion to,
Yes, please.
I recommend the approval of the 24-25 unaudited actuals financial report with gratitude. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. And your team.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Right.
Great, thank you all. All right, one more item for me, then I'll stop talking. So, as we've struggled to fill trustee area 6, a couple questions have come up. Should we look at reconfiguring the 7 trustee areas differently to see if we can get 7 members? Or should we revisit going down to 5 board members? That was part of the study we did 2 or 3 years ago when we created the trustee areas. Remember, the map on the wall back there was not something we had previously. We were all at-large members. There was an argument made that that was not constitutional. We didn't have the right representation, so we went through a big study process, created these 7 trustee areas, and now you all represent a trustee area rather than being at-large members. So again, I just think we've talked in the last couple meetings with the difficulty filling that one spot. Does it make sense to look at this again? And we could look at it a couple different ways. So tonight we have a proposal from King Consulting. It was really based on the thought of going down from 7 to 5 areas, but it would be about the same cost if we were to look at just reconfiguring the 7, maybe even a little bit less. If we wanted to look at both options, it would probably be about another $2,000 over the proposal you have in front of you tonight, but that might be money well spent. It's not a lot of money, and it would give you all the information to make a really informed decision. So with that, I think this is an action item, and some direction might be needed too.
Zoe, go ahead.
So I voted 3 years ago, or whatever it was, to keep it at 7, and now I think that was probably a mistake because we do struggle to fill the positions. So I think I'll go ahead and say it publicly. Tyler was right for once. I think that we should consider looking at 5 because then might be more competitive. Maybe more people would want to run, or we'd need fewer people. Either way, we wouldn't have a vacancy, which I think would be good. So I'm in favor of not looking at 7 in different ways because I think we'd still have the same problem, in my opinion.
And I see pens going up. I just wanted to throw out, I agree, I would love to look at 5 as well, but if it's a small extra fee, I'd love to see every option that might make sense for our community and see if maybe we can expand or change where we can get representation in that area, but capture more people who might be interested in it. Tyler?
I think I know that I'm in agreement with Fred. It's, for a little bit more, we have a different picture, a couple of different opposing concepts on what we could do. It's really hard to find board members that have the time and desire to do this. So I think 7 is going to be, I think 7 is difficult, but it would be interesting to redraw some maps and at least look at it. But I'm glad we're moving forward with this because our community deserves a fully engaged board.
And B?
Of course, I'm still for 7, but I do like seeing both of them. I think it'll give me a better sense of exactly what is, in my eyes, is or isn't going on here. I've been, for a long time, the board has been 7 for a long time. There's always been one little section, which is not what it is now, but was the 7th one, which ended up being Tyler's spot, that was problematic. And I would like to see the boundaries extended or added or whatever to at least see both of them before I start crying. So I would go for, let's try both of them. That would, my concern always has been that I feel Redwood Valley, because we have Calpella and Eagle Peak and the high school, that we should have 2 representatives. And I feel if we have 5, we will have only 1, and the bulk of it is still going to be from Ukiah. And so I want to be able to, at least for all of us to have it justified what makes good sense or not. And we have to look at the different boundaries. And so I'll go for both.
John?
Yeah, a question that is really, for me, is what are the criteria that they would be using to look at how those areas are delineated? We're going through this huge debate in our country about gerrymandering of districts to represent certain groups over others. And so I just think being really transparent and careful in the process of what are the criteria that the consultants are using of why they're choosing to have certain areas would be important. I didn't see that in here. I mean, it says prepare at least 3 trustee area options, including detailed analysis of how they meet the agreed upon criteria, and then 2 public hearings to receive input on the criteria. So I just really think, I mean, you know, since this is like publicly recorded in a public meeting, people attending those meetings to provide input on what criteria are important is one aspect. But I'm curious, how does the school district inform the start of the process of what the criteria are?
Yeah, and that's a good question. I think that some of it kind of comes through with either natural barriers or just as you start sliding. This is all GIS mapped, the software they have, so they can kind of slide. The goal is to get 7 areas that have the same number of people in them, or as close to as you can, or 5, either way, right? And so they're going to play with the maps. When we adopted these 3 years ago, we had, what we have, purple, orange, green, and red maps, I think, that we studied and looked at and considered. They bring back a really good variety of options. I think it would make sense for them. They will sit down and talk with us first when they first start. What are we thinking might be a different way of doing this? Do you come out from the center and just go out 7 different ways or 5 different ways? Or they do this all the time. They will have some ideas on their own, but they'll also take our input. So.
Yeah, because I know when I was running for school board recently, looking at the map and how the line like goes part way down Dora and then goes up 2 blocks and then over and then back down, it's like, how does that make geographic sense? So I think just making sure we're developing the criteria on a fair basis and that's communicated clearly of why we made the lines where they're at just would really help. But I would favor the option of going with the 5 and the 7.
Yeah, the challenge is really to get them to be equal or as close to equal as you can, and that's that's as much art as science probably, but a lot of science. So.
Zoe? Oh, Carolyn? Sorry, thank you.
That's okay. I think for the extra $2,000, I would like to see both options so our community is represented. I agree with B about the larger area north of Ukiah. Maybe that would require 2 representatives, but it would be nice to be given both options.
Okay.
Zoe?
I'm fine with looking at 7 again too, but I'll tell you from sitting through it the first time is there's not a lot of give because you have to do it by population. They have to all be equal. So the reason there were those little jogs was to get the numbers right. So we looked at several maps or several ideas, and some of them were pretty different, but they were basically similar, and you can just move it sort of a little bit this way and that. And I think what happened is because we had at large forever before we did this, you know, Ukiah was a big area and you could find people. They may be in the same area, same part of Ukiah, but you could find people. But then when we had to go to these very small, specific places in Ukiah or in River Valley or south, it decreased the population. I mean, it cut it down significantly. I can't remember what those population areas are, but they're really small.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we did try, when we were doing this, we tried to have a trustee area where there were a lot of Latino people who lived because we wanted to have Latino representation. That was trustee area 6. Where the vacancy is. But I think I'm fine if everyone wants to look at 7, fine with me, but it's so small and the movements are so small that I don't think it'd be that much different than what we have now. Whereas if we went to 5, it would be increasing each area's population and hopefully, the candidates. But either way is good with me too.
Tyler?
The other thing, that would be really nice to talk about or gather some more information, if there is any, is what makes the best is there a best board? Is a 7-person board better for particular reasons? Is a 5-person board better for particular reason? Just for the strength of the school board, it'd be nice to do what is most recommended or seems to be the most successful.
Depends on the board.
I
all it
think so,
depends on.
and I haven't heard, in the first time we tackled this, it was kind of part of the conversation.
We did.
And I don't think there was an answer then,
Right.
but we have a little bit of time. It would be nice to have that conversation as well. You know, what'll make this group the strongest in the future?
So I think at this point, I'm hearing kind of a consensus around adding the extra 10 hours to the proposal. So we could either do it a couple different ways. We could just pull it, not take action tonight, and I could come back to you with a revised proposal next month. Or you could, in your motion, say, please adopt the proposal as stated with 10 additional hours.
I'd prefer that.
Yeah.
I move that we adopt the proposal with the 10 additional hours to explore the 7 and 5-person boards.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Great, thank you, and I'll stop talking now.
Thank you, Steve. Good job.
We are on D8, resolution number 1.
This is a resolution to adopt Resolution 1 for the Week of the School Administrator, which is coming up on October 12th through 18th. I'm not going to read it to you. I will just say how much I really appreciate and value the work of our leaders, our administrators across our school district, both our classified leaders and our certificated leaders. So this resolution honors them. We will go out and also honor them in our schools during that week, and we're requesting approval.
Can I add a comment? Administration, you guys do a wonderful job, but as with all these recognitions, thank you so much. It really does take a team, and I'm grateful to all of our different groups. But you guys do a fantastic job. It's fun working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carolyn?
Make a motion, is that what we're looking for?
Yeah.
Okay, to adopt resolution, what's it, number 1, 2025, Week of the School Administrator?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, thank you. Item E1, the mathematics placement report. Katie?
This is a report with a lot of slides, so if you need to take a quick bathroom break, but I know Katie will be concise in all of those slides. Give some good summaries there.
Yes, good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Cuban. Tonight, I'm here to present the math placement report for our 9th grade students. Sorry. This just shows our math requirements, and Ukiah Unified requires 2 years of math, including Algebra 1. We also work on our math course pathways. We were looking at this diagram. Oh, I'm sorry. We were looking at this diagram and realizing I made this in a very old Word document, and we're going to spruce it up the next time you see this. But we have many pathways for students to accelerate and really achieve in mathematics. So we're excited about the program and all the courses that we offer. Our placement process, we have a specific process in place for placing students into their 9th grade courses. And just quickly to look at our enrollment, this is our current enrollment in our 9th grade classes at Ukiah High School. And you can see that some of our student groups are small. And I do just want to say that our American Indian Alaskan Native group, that the way the federal government asks people to fill out a form, this does really not include all of our students, and I just like to point that out. And we don't have a choice in how those are selected.
You mean it doesn't include all of our Native American
Correct.
students? Because sometimes they click 2 or more races.
That, or if they click Hispanic Latino first, it goes in that category.
So they take the first click on that form?
If the student marks, or family marks Hispanic Latino, that's the first question.
Okay.
Are you Hispanic or Latino? If you click that first, or not click, but you select that first, that's the group that you're, in
Assigned
terms
to.
of demographic data that we pull. And then then the second question is about race, and you can select that as well.
Okay.
And so sometimes people choose different ones, and
Okay.
they're like 2 or more races or whatever other choices
And
they
our
have.
parents are aware that the first box they click is how that child will be identified?
We just have that, we don't put any information about that.
Okay, there's no
because it's
instruction
just-
or,
Yeah, it's
okay.
the federal process.
Okay, thank you.
Again, looking at our student groups, and our percentage of our English learners is about 13%, English only 60%, 2% initial English fluent, 24% reclassified, and to be determined is just sometimes we have a new student and they haven't been determined yet. And interesting, when we looked at the enrollment in our 9th grade, we have more male students than we do female students. Sometimes that'll happen in a grade level. And that's a little bit low, that 70%. It's a little bit higher as of the last couple days. But we typically have about 75% of our students are socioeconomically disadvantaged or low income, and about 1% homeless, but that number changes a lot throughout the year. So just again, just a reminder, our Algebra 1 courses are now taught in a double block, meaning that they have algebra every day, and part of that is through the LCAP strategic plan. And the charts that you're going to see, this chart shows you the percent of students enrolled in courses. And we do special education math. There's quite a few courses in there, but we'll just put that together because it's hard to look at all the data. And overall, what you can see is, if you look at the graph or the bar chart on the right-hand side, that is the percent of students that are in 9th grade that are enrolled in Algebra 1 or higher. And you can see that this last year, and this is looking at, this year in 25-26, we're at 70%. Last year we were at 73%. So overall, in the last 4 years, we've increased the percent of students enrolled in Algebra 1 at 9th grade to 70%. Our goal is to eventually get closer to 100%. And you can see that our pre-algebra enrollment has declined. And that one thing that's interesting is that our geometry enrollment has increased. You can see over the last 3 years by 7%, and our Algebra 2 enrollment has increased. We have some students, we have about 18 freshmen that are taking Algebra 2, and most of those students get there by accelerating, by taking geometry over the summer. So they take Algebra 1 in 8th grade, geometry over the summer, and then 9th grade. And those are some of the things that we talked about here already, just in terms of summary. Next, we're going to be looking at our enrollment by different groups. Just a reminder, 2 of the groups that we do report that are smaller in size. Just a reminder, smaller in size groups can change more because the group size is smaller. And an asterisk just means that the group size is less than 10, so we typically don't report that. And a plus symbol just means that students aren't enrolled in that course. So if you look here, you can see the current enrollment in our courses by race, ethnicity, and we have a graph here to show you that. So you can see that 2 or more in white students have increased, and our American Indian or Alaskan Native has decreased slightly from the last year. And Hispanic Latino decreased slightly but is up overall. And this is basically the same information. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, can you, one more slide back?
Sure.
In both the American Indian, Alaska Native, and Hispanic in the 24-25 year, there was a spike upwards and then a drop down, and the American Indian was like a high drop up back again. Is that just because the numbers are so few on the American Indian or Alaskan Native that it really skews that data? But Hispanic is a larger group.
Yes.
And then there was that big jump in the 24-25 year and then back down.
Yeah, so overall we're up, but so we're looking at that right now, why our enrollment is lower in Algebra 1 or higher. The other group is smaller, so you have a little more variation. Still, we're not happy to see it at that percentage, but it's just a smaller group size.
I have a question. Katie, on special education math, are those students all identified on an IEP?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you look at this slide, you can see the enrollment, and then this is the bar graph that's a little bit easier to look over time. So you can see that the percent of English learners in Algebra 1 or higher have decreased. And so we want to take a look at that because we were at our highest rate before. And you can see a little bit of a decrease in our reclassified students. Our male-female, if you look at the enrollment, our female enrollment is 74% and male is 68%. They both declined slightly from prior year, and there is a small gap between male and female, but both of them had been moving in a positive trend, so we're still kind of looking at and analyzing our placement process. And this is the same information. We have a very large 9th grade class of 475 students, 335 are socioeconomic, and you can see that our students that are not socioeconomic, which is about 25%, are enrolled in Algebra 1 higher than a rate at socioeconomic, but if we look at our low socioeconomic, we're still over increased over the last 4 years, but we are looking at like why, in terms of our placement, we had a decrease. Foster and homeless group data was too small to report. So one of the things we want to look at is our placement process effective? We don't want kids moving around a lot in their course taking. We're really trying to work hard on getting the right students placed in the right courses. So this year we had 27 students move out of their initial placement. So after they were initially placed, there was a change in their placement at the second semester. We kind of look at the second semester. Sometimes there's a few changes right in the beginning. And we had 27, which was 5.5%. That was a little bit higher than we had last year. And so and what I should say is that's in 24-25. So we had a little bit more movement. So we're going to be looking at our placement process again to work on
Katie, should that
placement.
top of that slide say 24-25?
It should have. Thank you.
Okay,
Sorry, that was
good.
an error.
Don't worry.
Sorry,
No worries.
didn't catch that. So our next steps, one thing that we're really excited about working with in both at Ukiah High School and at our middle schools is really focusing on our intervention times. Pomalita is working on a new intervention support time during the day. Ukiah High has their U time, and Eagle Peak has their boost time to really focus in on ensuring students' math skills and reading skills are improving. So we really want to make sure that those students, you can see the groups that we identified, that they're being supported throughout that time, but all students. We will be reviewing grades, looking at our math enrollment data in the spring. We'll take a look at it. Before we do our math placement, we look at the review process. We do have some criteria we have to use, but we look at it and kind of reflect on how did that process go. We want to continue to improve our teaching practices, and we do want to analyze, we'll eventually look, we're at our data on how effective is the 2 blocks of Algebra 1, to see if we can reduce the number of students in pre-algebra, continue to work on that. And we just, in the bigger picture, we're working on our math pilot. So in November, December, a new list will come out from the state of California, and we'll start our piloting process in the spring, selecting programs. So we have a lot of work there. So that is our math report.
Can I ask a quick question? I don't even know if you have the information or if it matters, but we have six different ways that people can get into Algebra 1, right? In 9th grade. I'm curious if you know of the 19 students that went from algebra to pre-algebra, how they got to Algebra 1, if there was maybe the catalyst was parent recommendation, and maybe we review how much weight that has, or if there's...
I don't, but we can take a look at that, because we do have that, and we can get that information.
Thank you.
Katie, you said the goal is to reduce the number of 9th graders in pre-algebra. So will that fall back to the 8th grade math classes?
Yeah, the idea is so that students really don't need that additional support, that they're ready to go into Algebra 1 in 9th grade. So on that sequence, we have 8th grade math, and then students that are accelerated are typically in Algebra 1. And so we really want to make sure that if a student's in 8th grade math, they're ready to go for Algebra 1 next year.
So 8th grade math is pre-algebra?
It's not called pre-algebra, it's actually an integrated math. They do geometry in it, they do a lot of topics. They do a lot of algebra topics, and then when they go into algebra, it's just like a little step up.
Okay.
So an example, you work on solving system as the equations a little bit, and then it gets a little bit more advanced.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's by teacher recommendation then from the 8th grade to the 9th?
Correct, not just teacher recommendation, we look at assessment scores, we look at state assessments, internal, our interim assessments, how students did in 7th grade and 8th grade. We get that data a little bit quicker now. We can get it in June and make any quick adjustments that we need. And so we collect all that data and then determine where we will place students. We do meet, though, early with students in January and February to discuss with them. The counselors come to the school and start talking to them about what course taking they want. And then our process is kind of like the final. We start pulling that data, and then we do a final kind of confirmation of the placement.
Okay.
And we also take in parent input and student input on the placement.
Okay. So we don't have any data talking about why those 9th graders changed in the
I don't
middle
have
of
it
the year?
right now, but we can try to find that out, and we can look back at what courses they took in 8th grade.
Right, what went on. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Katie.
Joey?
I was just, not that you have the answer to this, but I was just wondering, since the high school had gone from their 8-period schedule to a 7-period schedule, and algebra is still a 2 two-period subject. I was wondering how that affects kids' schedules and is there something that they're not able to be taking, like an elective, if they're taking Algebra 1? And not that you know that, but I'm just
Yeah,
kind of
let me-
wondering, like, how is that going over? Does that mean kids are missing out on other things? It was different with 8
Yeah.
periods, but 7 is, just getting close to the 6 we used to have. And I'm just curious what the high school thinks, and also what the students think who are in Algebra 1 for 2 periods, if they're missing something else that they could be doing.
We'll get that information for you.
Tyler? Well, I'm a little concerned about this path, and maybe it's because I don't understand. But what the original intent of having the 2 math classes in high school, what was the purpose of that? The
So-
double algebra, the double algebra.
Yeah, so we started, that came out after the pandemic because we were really seeing that students struggled in mathematics during the pandemic to really support those students.
And I'll just add, it's when the high school went to a block schedule, and the math teachers indicated that they would like to see their students every day. And so the need for additional time with math, both coming out of the pandemic plus the block schedule. And Zoe I just jotted classes down on a piece of paper, but a typical freshman would take English, freshman advisory, algebra, PE, if they're in Spanish or another world language, and then some of our students take science their freshman year, some don't, but that would be a schedule. So they may not have room in their schedule to take another elective, if they're on that track of packaged courses. Not all freshmen take, that would be a pretty typical freshman schedule.
So my concern is, we went to the double algebra period because it's difficult for a lot of kids. We weren't seeing success. And it feels, just from reading the report, it feels like we're trying to push algebra, pre-algebra. Math builds on itself, pre-algebra, kind of, you learn pre-algebra and then you learn algebra. Feels like now that we have these 2 math periods that we're calling it algebra, but really we're forcing pre-algebra and algebra together in these 2 periods. My concern is we put the 2 periods together because the math teachers said, hey, we're having trouble, we need more time. Now we're kind of taking that time away because we're cramming these 2 classes together, unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, the classes aren't crammed together. It's all Algebra 1 content that they're learning in those classes. And just in terms of pre-algebra, really what we traditionally think of pre-algebra are covered in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade courses. Like there's little parts to it throughout.
So if we don't see the improvement that the math department was looking for, I'm concerned about English as well. Are we going to take away that class period? When do we find out if the math scores are improving? This was kind of an experiment when we started. There was a little unrest with the rest of the faculty, and how are we going to find out if it works? And if it doesn't, when are we going to try something else?
These are all great questions that we do not have answers to tonight, but if you have questions about those math pieces, if you could just send them to us so we could do the research and get back to you, that would be great.
Just a comment, Tyler, I had 2 grandchildren go through that double period algebra, and they loved it. I mean, they had peer tutoring, they got their homework done in class, and almost 80% of that class went on to geometry. So I think that 2 periods for those 2 kids really benefited. So, just a comment. Okay.
Thank you,
Okay,
Katie.
thank you.
But I will also add, your question is very good. especially as the schedule shrinks a bit, going from 8 periods to 7. So, yeah, we will do a little bit of research on those 2 questions, which is what was the kids who had to get their schedule changed, and then double algebra periods.
Okay, we are on to item F1, Superintendent's Report.
You heard a lot of great things that are going on to the start of the school year. We tried something a little different with back-to-school nights this year. You heard some comments about it. As I've been out and about, both teachers and parents appreciate having our back-to-school nights predominantly within the first month of school. That was our goal, to get those connections made earlier between parents and teachers, and so appreciate that feedback. Makes it hard to get to all of them. I am also somebody who likes to get to all of our back-to-school nights. It makes it a little bit harder, but appreciate that we've kind of tackled that. The goal was to try and get those connections made earlier for parents and teachers. I've been at sites a lot. It's been really lovely to be in classrooms and see the excitement of kids coming back to school. Especially our youngest kiddos. They are so little. Our TK kids are so small. And it's been really fun being at school sites. It's also fun seeing the integration of some of our projects. I was at Frank Zeke this morning when kids were getting dropped off, and just watching the flow of that change of the parking lot and ingress and egress for school. Nice to see that functioning. We have 13 teacher residents this year through our Sonoma State program, and that's really exciting. Some of them are graduates of Ukiah High coming back, and it was fun to see them also at our back-to-school nights working alongside of those mentor teachers. I'm really excited about some of the innovative ways we are trying to increase our staff. That's one of them. Next year in 2026, we will start a partnership with Humboldt County Office of Ed for a special ed resident program. And so we're excited to get that going. My goal by the end of the year is to identify some sort of teacher residency program for the single subject, so we can get more single subjects like math and science and English credentialed before they step into our classrooms. So looking for partners on that. And then in January, we had our San Diego State Administrative Credential Program orientation yesterday. We have 24 of our teachers who will be in that program, and Dr. Shin from San Diego State was here to talk to our teachers about that program. That starts in January. They will be, hopefully all of them will earn their credentials in a year and a half through 4 semesters. One of the semesters is summer. So I'm grateful to really be looking at ways to increase our qualified staff here locally, which is really fun. I think that's all I'll say. Lots going on, lots of really great things going on, lots of challenges as always, but it's super fun to be here.
B?
I was one of those complainers about the double open house, or what do we call it? Oh, back to school nights, and I'm taking that back. It turns out it really turned out fine. In fact, the second one that I go to, I can find parking. Yeah. And so that's a good part. And actually it's worked out fine. I haven't gotten a ticket yet. And so, and the bottom line, it is wonderful to see all the families, all the kids, and all the teachers and all your new people that are there. And it's just exciting, and we always worry about getting parents involved, but when you go to those guys, to the open houses, they love it, and I love it. And I'm glad we keep doing it, and it's turned out well.
We've had great attendance this year, I have to say, great parent attendance, so.
highlighter.
Have we moved on to our presentations, the board?
Yep, item
Okay,
F.
I wasn't sure where we're at. As you know, I am interested in workforce housing. It was really interesting to hear the comments from one of our speakers earlier tonight about affordability and lack of housing and how developer fees might be impacting that. Because of my interest, I attended a meeting. Let me confess, my notes for this are sitting at the front door, printed out and ready to bring, but they're at the front door instead of here, so I kind of had to make this up on the fly. So we met at the county district office. There were the superintendent of Boonville, a community member who was also a teacher at Boonville, myself, and Nicole Glinser, the county superintendent. Just had and the CSBA PACER, who has the one hat of CSBA PACER that comes and talks to us, or some of us. And, but she's also interested in developing workforce housing in Boonville in her other role as a human being. So it was a small group. We talked, it was just kind of a opening meeting about workforce housing. We have this Redwood Valley property that we've been trying to sell, which I think we should hang on to, is my primary interest. But it was really interesting listening to the other folks at the meeting. Nobody is an expert in this field. We're not developers, so it's kind of a scary concept to think about developing one of our pieces of property. There's, frankly, the business that we have here is for educating students, and there isn't time for a member of our staff to head development of a piece of property, and that was kind of a universal problem. Everybody's like, it's a great idea, we don't have any time. And then the last part, which was also universal, is where is the money going to come from? Because we don't have money to build houses. So anyways, it was kind of interesting to talk about it. It's really informal now, kind of sharing ideas, trying to figure out which direction to go in. One interesting thing that Nicole had talked about was, because she serves the whole county, is, how do you, we have a lot of people in Ukiah, we have some people in Willits, those are kind of the two big hubs, but because she represents everything, how does the county participate in this conversation to make it fair for the whole county? And one concept that she was tossing around is that they would be the backer of the loan to do potential workforce housing. But again, this is all pie in the sky. We were just kind of shooting the bull, trying to figure out, what direction to go. Anyhow, it was interesting, and I'm going to continue to talk with these folks and see what's going on. But the most interesting thing is we all have the same problems. We don't have the expertise, we don't have the time, we don't have money. So
Well, you guys will meet again?
we're planning on it.
Yeah.
We'll see how far it goes.
All right, move on to agenda planning. The agenda planning for October's meeting is September 30th at 12:30. It was B, Carolyn, and I, right, last time? Yeah. So,
No.
I made it all the way to the district office, and then I found out that we had some other awesome people. And so I went back to work.
so I don't know if Tyler and John, if you're interested in the 30th, are available?
Can you give me the date one more time?
The 30th, Tuesday the 30th at 12:30.
That is a Tuesday, we're back to, no, we're on Tuesday.
12:30.
12:30. I can do it. Yeah, I can do it.
Okay. Okay, thank you.